Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Yahweh Allah. I am Allah. I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh Allah Koharalan. I Allah, Yahweh Allah. I am Yahweh. I am Guru. I am Baba. I Allah. All right, it's a pretty crazy time out there right now, guys. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I feel is the real threat, even though the world is facing a global pandemic. You know, we can look at this from the dualistic perspective, which is everyone panic, every man for himself, filled with anxiety, worry for our future, which is unstable. I mean, that's the way most of us are used to living in some form or another. We live as individuals, separate from the world around us, separate from others. We cling together to our communities, hoping to find some sort of solace in our friends and families and things, but we'll never, ever shake that feeling of not enough, not connected, not fulfilled until we solve this one simple equation. This is the real virus that's affecting everyone right now at a soul level. It's the inability to accept one's own self as pure divinity. And furthermore, to experience oneself as that, as the one. So, the perspective that most of us take is that we are a separate individual. See, we live in the mind. Corona means mind. If you think about this thing, right, it's very simple. This is the real conspiracy here, guys. There's a lot of people talking about different conspiracies that are going on, but this is the ultimate one. This is the big one. This is the macro conspiracy, if you will. This is the one that we should really be focused on if we want to end them all, if we want to end our suffering once and for all and stop being a slave to any particular, industry or sovereign entity or what have you. So the way to find freedom is to awaken to our own inner essential nature as consciousness, as divinity. Now, this is something that I've been working on and practicing towards for decades now. And it's something that I have a little bit of experience and want to share and talk to you about from a different perspective than you're probably used to seeing. Now, while I'm not saying that I'm some enlightened being and I see this clearly at all times, I make it a constant practice to shift my attention into the highest possible way of seeing that I am able to. So let's say when I look at what someone else has and I want that for myself, what that does is that creates a feeling of lack in myself. You see, so it's very practical to not to want other things from other people. To the way the Bible talks about not coveting your neighbor's shit, not wanting your neighbor's ass and all that stuff. What they're talking about is this. It's very practical. It's not because you're sinful if you do it and you're going to be punished. Damn it, I'm going to send you in hell forever. No, it's very simple. Is that when you're wanting something else, when you're feeling like, oh, I really wish I had that, I'm jealous, and all those things, you're cutting yourself off from your own power. You're making it so that you feel like a separate individual and that you have to work against all these forces. You encounter all this resistance and obstacles because you're cut off from the world, you're cut off from yourself at large, you're cut off from the totality of your essential nature, which is consciousness. And you've taken yourself to be something that you're not. This mind-created self, this coronavirus. So the way that it works is we've taken ourselves to be this character in the mind that we've created. The mind is all about separation. It's the land of separation. You have to have up and down and opposites and all these things in order to create a feeling of separation, a feeling of being a separate individual. Animals don't necessarily have this. They experience themselves as beingness, yes, right? But not as separate because they're just allowing that energy of consciousness to flow through them. There's no egoic sense there that says, oh, I'm a separate individual. They just go with the flow and naturally. Now, of course, sometimes some animals will develop egos if they live around humans, right? Because we're constantly anthropomorphically making them into an individual when they're not necessarily. There's only one. Now that's the reality that we're working towards, seeing. not just believing. This does you no good. Do not believe this. Don't believe anything I tell you or I'm going to be pissed off. Seriously. You need to investigate this for yourself. It's the only way it does any good whatsoever. If you don't look at it for yourself, you're wasting your time. You may as well just be entertained. You may as well just watch a comedy or some bullshit to distract yourself from reality, from seeing the truth. If you want to wake up to see the truth, it takes some practice. You're going to have to put a little bit of work in. It didn't come easy over here. It took work. It took a lot of years. Dedication. Seriousness. But it's really the only game in town. I mean, once you get to a certain level, you just kind of start to want to elevate your consciousness. And once you begin to start to elevate it, there's really no limit to how high it can go. Now, if you want to check out some of the levels of consciousness that one can attain, I would highly recommend looking into the work of Ken Wilber. So I was going to say Ken Burns. He's a documentary guy. But Ken Wilber is fantastic. He is a genius at what he does. He's dissected these levels of consciousness that some of us have not even seen. Most of us have not even seen, because most people are stuck in these rational-minded. Even half the world is probably either at this rational-minded inability. Here's the thing: the rational mind is contained within consciousness. That's why you can never really understand yourself if you're stuck in the rational mind. You're never going to get to the crux of what you are, because you're constantly going to search for yourself in this mind of duality. This is what I'm talking about. This is what creates this separate person, this separate individual, living in the mind, living in your head. Coronavirus. Got it? Corona means crown. We getting there? This is the real virus. You're living in your head. You've taken yourself to be someone that you're not. You're not a separate individual. But you can't take my word for that. You need to experience the depth of the reality of what you are and begin to experience that over and over and over again. This is why psychedelics are so powerful, because they cut right through the bullshit. They give you a direct experience of this egoless state. The mind gets so bombarded with phenomenon that it quiets, and you're able to see the background substrate of all of that, which is your own consciousness, your own awareness. That's what you are. Your awareness. Your awareness. And you got to start looking for it. You got to start recognizing it. Okay? There's an entire school of thought built around recognition. And it's very, very powerful. So we can take some of those tools that they talk about and apply it to ourselves. What are we looking for? We're looking for awareness. Awareness is our essential nature, not this separate person that we've created in our heads. What we are is awareness. That's what God is. It's what the universe is. Everything is awareness. It's consciousness. So there's two modes of looking at things. Basically, you're either looking at things in the dualistic mode, like I said, in which you see yourself as an individual, separate in the world. Everything is separate, right? You can see things that way, and you see consciousness as a manifestation of your own brain, some function of your biology, right? And that's the way most people, that's like the consensus way of seeing it. But the sages have seen it differently for eons. And they've always said, that's not the way that it is. That's the way that it appears. That's why you guys are lost in this Maya. You're lost in this dream. You can't wake up. You're trying to wake up as an individual. You're trying to wake up as an individual. But you can't wake up as an individual. You need to wake up as the totality. It's the only way you can truly wake up, is as the totality. And that's the only thing that will cure the coronavirus. When you awaken as the totality, there's nothing to fear. There's no virus that's separate from you. There's nothing but everything. So that's the non-dual view. It's this seeing how everything, you can see this directly for yourself. You don't take anyone's word for it. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to trust that someone's done proper science. You do the science your own damn self inside. You don't take anyone's word for it. You realize the power of that when you know something, not because you read it in a book. Not because you took someone else's word for it, but because you went inside the laboratory of your own being and conducted experiment after experiment after experiment and proved over and over and over and over to yourself, oh shit, these fuckers were right. It's not like that at all. Consciousness is the substrate of all. If you look in your direct experience, you'll see, don't take my word for it, but check to see, where is everything arising? The body arises, right? It appears in awareness. If I look directly, now people will say, "Oh, well, I'm the body. I'm right here." But are you the body? Or are you something more than that? If you look directly, you'll see that you are not the body. The body appears in your awareness. All bodies appear in awareness. Some bodies feel when they're touched. Other bodies don't feel when they're touched. Not from here. Not from this perspective. You see? So from first person, all appears within one awareness. That's what I know directly, without anyone telling me, without having to refer to anyone else's information. I can look and see directly that everything, the totality, appears right within awareness. It's all spontaneously being produced. Even these words are coming out. I'm not saying this shit, guys. This is coming out spontaneously. It's coming out spontaneously. I am watching the process and allowing for it, creating the space. I am that awareness, right? I am that awareness. I create the space and allow the energy to flow. Allow the energy to flow through, and here's what's coming out right now, because this is what I'm focused on, and this is what this body mind has been studying and looking into and awakening to for some years. So, let's talk about it a little bit more. What's the crux of the issue, right? The crux of the issue is people are scared right now. They're feeling anxious. They're feeling like there's something out there other. They need to, you start to look at people a different way. You look at this person, they could be a carrier. Now I'm feeling more separate, right? Now I got to start to really look, who can I associate with? Who can I not associate with, right? Whether or not there's some entity trying to, coerce people into behaving this way or not, this is what's going to happen. If you pay attention, the feeling of separation is being ingrained, whether purposefully or not. It's being further ingrained into us. The feelings of fear, anxiety, right? This is the culture. This is what the culture is doing. Whatever forces are behind it, we don't know. Can't say. There might be some nefarious forces. I don't fucking know. I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is how to be free of it. The way to be free of it is through non-resistance. Surrender. It's counterintuitive, but it's the truth. You can't fight these massive nefarious forces as an individual. You can only accept, welcome, see how it's actually all a manifestation of your own consciousness. Once that's seen, oh shit, now there's no one to fight. There's no resistance anymore because there's nothing separate from me. Now my anxiety drops away. Where's my fear now? That was silly. It was silly. It was not helpful. It was stressful. I'm not saying be foolish. I'm not saying don't prepare. I'm not saying on the external level that you should do anything differently than you may have already been doing. I'm saying those are good things to do, for sure. Again, the issue, though, is in the mind. It's in this feeling of separation, this resistance to life. Once we start to let go of that resistance to life, all of a sudden we start to realize we are life. We are that one life. This takes a while, right? But guys, I'm telling you, I'm on the cusp of really living this reality continuously. And it's something that's attainable. You can live in a state of complete freedom from fear. Even if the whole world goes to hell, you know that you'll be okay, because you know that what you are is eternal. And the world is interior to what you are. Does that make sense? Listen to that again. The world, the universe, is interior to what you are. But you're never going to see that when you're stuck in your head. You are not going to be able to see it. And I'm going to sound like a crazy person and a fool. or some mystic, right? Some crazy mystic that how are you supposed to attain that state? But don't kid yourself. You can do it. You can have it. It takes discipline, luck, grace, practice, the right tools, but it can happen. I mean, it's simply the truth. How hard should it be to realize it? When we let go and drop all of our bullshit, right? We drop all of our filters, it stands shining forth. Radiant. So basically, we need a head change. This coronavirus has gotten everybody twisted around, and it's all about separation and it's all about resistance. When you let go of resistance, though, no one is able to control you. Nothing is able to control you. That's the thing. When you're fighting with something, you're controlled by it. You can't let go. You can get tossed around, thrown around, smashed against the rocks. When you let go, you surrender. Now all of a sudden, I'm empowered. True surrender is always empowering. It all depends on what you're surrendering to. But let me ask you this. In the face of a power unimaginable, with the experiential, visceral reality of a power beyond your imagination, what is there to do but surrender? I mean, really, what is there to do with the awe in the face of the reality, of the totality, of the beingness of this entire universe? What is there to do but surrender? Resistance is futile. But if you're still in that dualistic realm, don't surrender to evil. You still got to fight. If you're still in the dualistic realm, like most of you are, you have to fight. Even if you're in the non-dual realm, you still may have to fight. You just don't see that it's you doing it necessarily. You're just not identified with the action. If you're not identified with the action, as the Indians have said for many, many thousands of years in the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, if you're not identified with the action, it produces no karma. Just in case that's something you're interested in, working off karma. That's still a dualistic, it's a high dualistic realm. It's a form of yoga, karma yoga. It's very powerful, but still dualistic. You're going to start moving into the tantric forms of yoga, and I don't mean sexual. Tantra is a joke. That's not what I'm talking about here. No, but when you start to actually look into the ancient tantric texts and practices that lead to awakening and radical shifts in consciousness, that's when you start to enter the realm of non-dual modes of awareness. You start to be able to step back and see the entire universe being created spontaneously out of your own awareness. But again, a lot of purification work has to be done in order to see that, because you have to be able to let go of the ego in order to be able to see it. You have to get out of the mind. You're not going to be able to see it when you're in the mind. That's what I was saying before. People try to understand these truths with the mind, but you literally can't put it into words. You can't. It's not in the mind. It's beyond the mind. So you keep trying to understand it in logical, rational thinking, It's beyond that. When you begin to glimpse this, you know that what I'm saying is right. There's a depth to us that we've barely begun to scratch the surface of, and it's infinite. And at its center is the one, that same one that has become everything. So you see, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing outside of yourself. When you see it this way, which is the truth, now don't take my word for it again. It takes a lot of practice, and I don't always currently see things like this. Sometimes I still get caught up in the muck and the mire. Yes, that's why I meditate regularly, several times a day. Sit. Sit with these truths. Sit. You start to see it. Oh, shit. Yeah, no. There it is. Fuck. It's awareness is there. It's prior. Fuck it. Awareness is prior. It's prior. Awareness happens first. So I can't be the body. I'm not thought. Right? The awareness was prior to the thought. Awareness is there prior to everything. It's prior to the universe. What do you think the universe came out of? Awareness is what you are. It's your eternal nature. It's what you were before you were born. It's what you're going to be after you're dead. And it's what you are right now. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Even if the body dies, nothing essential is lost. I know it seems like that from this level. From the earthbound realm, it seems very much like that. We're very, very attached to these bodies and to our stories. But awareness doesn't change. It's eternal. It's infinite. It is your basic nature, the truth of who you are. So when you feel yourself becoming anxious or fearful, or you hear you can't stop the thoughts coming in constantly, just reverberating, repeating over and over again, fear, corona, fear. Make sure you take time to clear space. Put some good in. Practice mantras. Mantras are very, very, very powerful. Ancient mantras, Sanskrit, I highly recommend. This will help anchor you instead of, being anchored by corona. So when I hear that start happening in my head, I instantly just allow my mantras to start coming forth. Om Yahweh Allah Chayim Yahweh Allah Om Ayallah Om. This is such a good practice. So purifying. And you just feel the energy come through. I mean, it's powerful. So that can help you release. Also noticing whenever resistance comes up, whenever that anxious feeling comes up, just short circuit the story. Don't look at the story about the fear and about the anxiety, about what all is going on. Shit might get crazy. I don't fucking know. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But thing is, you don't allow the feeling to generate the story. So the fearful thoughts come up, they arise, the anxiety arises, whatever. You just focus on the resistance. Feel that resistance inside your body and surrender to it. Let it go. Let go to it. Create space for it. Allow it. All you really have to do is become aware that there's resistance, I'm telling you guys, this is a secret key right here. If you just become aware that there's resistance in your body and you gently hold your awareness on that resistance, it will naturally dissolve all on its own. That's the power that awareness has. So when you notice that feeling of anxiety coming up, you just feel it in your body. You feel the resistance. Just go right to the feeling of resistance and welcome it. Just bring your attention to it. Gently take it in. Allow it to be there. As best you can, just kind of let go, unhook from the mentations around whatever story the mind is weaving around these feelings. Just kind of drop that, unhook, and allow your attention, your awareness to gently rest wherever you feel that resistance in your body. And just hold it there. If you hold your awareness gently and allow yourself to feel whatever is there, whatever's underneath that resistance will start to come up and it'll begin to dissolve. This is a very, very powerful practice. It's empowering because it brings you right into alignment with reality, which is the oneness that you are. If you are the totality, what are you resisting? You see, that's the reason why we will never overcome fear until we become the totality. There'll always be something that you're separate from. So there's always something to fear, you see? When you become the totality, you see that everything is a manifestation of that which you are. Consciousness, awareness, life, God. So I trust that this was helpful for you. If you've been experiencing anxiety or fear or any such emotional upset around this whole madness that's been going on and will continue for a while, take heart. Take heart. And remember, your own resistance is your worst enemy. Things are going to be the way that they are. Let go of resistance. Surrender. There's nothing you can do. Resistance is futile. It just makes you weaker. When you surrender, you become aware, you begin to start to see solutions that you weren't able to see before. So that's the real benefit of letting go of your anxious, fearful mind. So, people will say, well, what if shit really goes to, hell and I need to fucking, I need to do this and that to prepare for it? Well, okay. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. You'll do a better job of preparing for it when you're not all cluttered up with resistance, when your mind isn't frantic and anxious. You start to see clearer, you can see solutions, you can see the best practices and the best options that are available. And you'll also have peace of mind, which is another huge benefit. So you could run around anxious and make a sloppy mistake that causes you to get hurt. Then you have to deal with something like that. Or you use this as a practice to become even more conscious, more aware. And what does it do? It becomes fuel for your conscious expansion. It becomes fuel for your awakening, right? You allow it to thrust you into a state of total awakening. Presence. That's powerful. So again, resistance is futile. Allow the fullness of your essential nature to begin to come to the surface. Let go of your mind. Let go of your identity with that separate being. Start to unhook. And allow. Surrender. And I will see you on another video. Om Yahweh Allah Koharalan. I am Baba. I am Koharalan.